My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave Dubow. And have you ever wondered how to transform your W-2 into a superpower in real estate investing? Well, today, my guest, April Elias from Delaware, she's here to unveil her secrets behind harnessing her professional background for real estate success. April, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Bryce. I appreciate the invite.
Well, we're just gonna go straight to the point here. We got another of Pace Morby's followers in the sub 2 category, so it's gonna be along those lines, which is exciting because it's really changing the way people are doing real estate. But let's go right back to the beginning. You haven't been in real estate too long.
No, I actually just joined one of Pace's communities back in April, but my husband and I have been exploring real estate investing since I'd say the early 2000s. So we went to some seminars, some Robert Kiyosaki things, and at the end of the day, we're like, that's not really for us. So nothing really fit or made sense until we came across Pace's community.
So it's kind of been an idea that's been kind of smoldering, but nothing really lit fire to it until you kind of got, what do you think was holding you back? Was it timing or was it the offer? What do you think was holding you back from starting back in the day instead of April?
I think it was just the season of our lives. So my husband and I have 5 children. So we were super busy with that. We also owned a few businesses. We're both executive search recruiters, headhunters. So that can get really busy. So that's just a different kind of deal model than real estate. But we just let kind of life and things and work get in the way of it. And because it wasn't super exciting to jump into outside of our own personal pursuits for our own personal properties, we just kind of were like, that seems like it'd be fun one day, just don't know when.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing too, is like real estate is typically something that people are going to when what they're doing either isn't exciting anymore or isn't fulfilling the money part of life anymore. So what would you say really was the tipping point to going into it? Was it the time, I guess, that you actually now found looking at it going, we actually do have the time to do this?
Yeah, I would say the timing was probably perfect. Our youngest is 18, so there's not as much, carting around to sports schedules. And then also being in talent acquisition or executive search, that's transactional, and that's fine. And transactional type of work is okay, but it doesn't really help you build and sustain something for the long term. I can't really hand that to my kids or anything like that. So we're like, let's just take these skills, pivot them over to real estate investing, because it's a lot of the same type of dynamics of the conversation and the relationship and the negotiation. It's just instead of people, it's properties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can't really build a legacy on some sort of like spinning. It's like a treadmill business, like wholesaling. If you stop doing it, it stops paying. So
That's
there's
right.
not really it's hard to create a legacy until you, I guess, hire other people and the thing has to keep spinning. So where's that brought you since you jumped in? What have you been working on? What have you found success in?
So I joined Pace's Gator community, which is around, micro lending for EMD or, a variety of other just little short-term transactions. And then there's an element of it that also gets into private money lending. So that's why we joined initially, because it was just an easier way to get exposure to deals, see how they work end to end, and just the dynamics of each party throughout the transaction and how they work. And so with us getting our reps in, working our Gator deals, I quickly figured out that, oh my gosh, I need to be in sub 2, because the deal that I came across was actually a sub 2 deal. And I needed the support of the community to help me walk through it end to end. And so that's how it evolved to also being Pace's sub 2. And I'd say where I've had success is calling agents. So the direct to agent thing seemed to be very natural and easy for me. Also direct to seller, because I've spent over 2 decades engaging people that are passive, that don't necessarily want to or need to speak with me. Because it's executive level search, I'm typically looking for people who are rock stars and rainmakers, and they're doing great. They're not applying to jobs. I have to go
Mhm.
out and find them and attract them to an opportunity. So I felt like that was a nice starting point for us, because it helped me learn the market, learn how agents behave, learn how sellers behave, and figure out ways to try to solve their problems. So that's where I've been getting the most traction at the moment.
Yeah, I always say, when you're developing over time, the things that you do in the past, how can you increase the monetization of those with something different? It's like, okay, how can we use all those people skills that you have? What part of real estate needs that the most? Because there's two ways in the world to make money: doing things people don't want to do, doing things people don't know how to do. And executive search sounds a lot like both of them. People
Mhm.
don't really want to get on the phone and start cold calling people. And secondly, people probably don't know how to find these people and do those things. And that's why you make money. And so when you look at what you're doing now in real estate, do people really want to like call realtors all day and cold call home sellers? Nope. And even if they got them on the phone, would they know what to say and how to make that conversation smooth and get a good result? Probably not. So I like the angle. So don't listen to those people telling you to, oh, you should stop doing that and go raise some money. Yeah,
Yeah.
raising money is important, and being good at finding deals just as important. So I like where you've taken the skills. So what has that amounted to so far with your real estate?
Yeah, so I joined Sub2 probably, it was about October, and it took me a moment to get my bearings and figure it all out, because there's so many things, there's so many ways to make money, there's so many ways to leverage your existing skill set. And so I had to expose myself to a bunch of things to really figure out where I just need to jump in. And
Mhm.
so just a couple months ago, I actually joined a team, and I started calling their leads, their direct to agent leads, and started getting my reps in there and getting the flow down and overcoming objections. And so, that's probably been one of the most impactful experiences. And then by side or in parallel with that, I'm also calling, or my husband and I are calling and reaching out to people in pre-foreclosure, because my market is Delaware. Like,
Yeah.
it's so small, and we've lived here our whole lives, and we've been out in the community, and then we've also placed a lot of people in their current roles. So we actually know a lot of people that are either on the list, and we always joke around and say, well, if it's here, it's like 1 degree of separation, not really, 6 degrees
Mhm.
or whatever. So we've been able to just start scratching the surface on that and connect dots with, the attorneys that we know that can help us, and, just other resources, and really help people solve their problems with their homes, even if it's keeping the home. Like, that's okay
Mhm.
too, because that's an important element of just being able to help somebody quick guide them through a strategy to help stay in their home, if that's what they can do, and they're able to, if they just have a little bit of help, and we help them with the bank in that regard.
Yeah, it's hard to solve a problem that you don't understand. So I
Mhm.
think the biggest skill that I've seen and it's helped me the most is connecting with people that can help people. So like you're saying with the mortgage brokers and attorneys and lawyers or whoever needs to be part of it, but actually like the skill of figuring out what they need to be able to facilitate, maybe they can keep their home. Awesome.
Mhm.
Um, not I don't know what the ratio is, but typically not is the answer. But if you can, then let's give them those options too. So finding the solution and like dealing with the person and then also the property, I think it's going to be something coming up. So what sort of I think this question is going to be relatively obvious, but when you look at what you've been doing in real estate and in your past business, what do you think the secret sauce is? What's the unfair advantage, something that comes easy to you that other people might find difficult to do?
Well, I would say probably the art of the conversation, and just listening. And so I've used this strategy, not even realizing it was a strategy the entire time I've been doing talent acquisition, which is the 80-20 rule. And then when I look back, I'm like, oh, it's the 80-20 rule. But I just listen more. And in the beginning, I was listening more because I started recruiting scientists and engineers, and I didn't know what all of their equipment was and what all of their
Yeah.
things were. So I would just ask questions because I'm trying to understand so I can help align them with an opportunity that matches their skills and their interests. So I
Mhm.
just got really good at asking questions and listening. And then what I do is it's just very consultative in nature. I come in and I introduce relevant capabilities. If I can help, cool, I'll connect those dots for you. But if I can't, I'll at least point you in the direction of someone or something that can possibly help. So I would say that that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah. And that kind of reminds me when I started in real estate. Well, I knew of real estate. Um, that's probably the biggest tip you could give someone is don't don't pretend just like you could have easily with the scientists and be like, oh, whatchamacallit, and started pretending and not really listening, and you wouldn't have had success. Like with the real estate agents when I started, I would just ask them what they thought and what their take on it is and what do you think? And when they'd say words, I'd be like, interesting, interesting, and just let them do the talking, let them do the lifting in the conversations instead of having pride that, oh, I should know this and I should know that. It's just having none and being open to listening to what they have to say. So when you look at the opportunity with the Gator program, how involved are you in that, or are you now going to start moving towards doing more sub two deals yourself?
Well, it's really just a deal by deal basis because I can come at it from any angle. So if someone brings me a deal and they're like, oh, I just need some gap funding to do the renovation, or a PML, same thing, to do the renovation, or I need help with this entry fee or whatever the case may be, I'll consider
Yeah.
it from that angle. And then I also am pulling deals together to either if it's not something I would like to buy and hold, at least present it to other investors or other people in the sub two community or the Gator community that they might be interested in participating in, because we generally have some framework around what actually makes a good deal and what most people are interested in. So it's helpful to know that up front when we're looking at things and we're learning how to underwrite. And what I love about being in a community is you can ask for that help, quick get an answer, because I'm very independent in a lot of ways and I feel like I'm very resourceful. So I sometimes feel bad asking for help because I'm like, oh, I could figure this out. I could figure this out. But
Hmm.
it's taught me to change my mindset and just ask that quick question because everybody's happy to answer and help each other out. And I don't think that exists in every single real estate investing community, but it certainly exists in the ones that I'm in. And so that's been really helpful. And so the answer is it's a variety of things, and it's really deal specific and how the deal comes across my desk.
Yeah, you guys certainly do roll as a gang
Yeah.
out there. Thing
Hmm.
like that. So,
Yeah.
um, and that's good too, because you got the built-in kind of buyers list. You find something, maybe you can disposition it to the internal list, and maybe they know someone and they know someone. So networking, you're seeing a huge part of the business. So when it comes to opportunities, are you do you typically put some money together first and then go looking at some deals, or do you like to have the deal and then look for the money?
I like to have the deal and then look for the money because I feel like it's easier to, well, that also depends too. Sometimes it's easier. I don't let that stop me from looking for deals.
Hmm.
But if through all of the networking that we do, we have an idea of who's interested in what. So we largely know what each other's buy box is. And so if it's not for us, usually we'll pursue deals that we know someone or five people that would be interested in that type of deal. So it's a bit of both too, because we just combine, if I'm looking in this market, if there's something I'm not open to taking down because it just doesn't fit my criteria, it doesn't run in, work in my model, my personal model, then
Hmm.
I at least know five people who I could flip it to and that they might be interested in it. So it's not totally, totally a done deal if it's not for me personally.
So what's the main strategy going forward? You know, what does the future look like for you and your husband in real estate so far and looking forward?
So we would like to acquire properties, buy and hold. That would be the long-term strategy because we have 5 kids, like I said, and our youngest is 18, and 4 of them have expressed interest in real estate. One of them, my oldest, is really into land and took a deep dive into the land piece just because that caught his attention, which is
Mhm.
cool. And then actually 3 of my other kids are super interested in note flipping, and they've been learning that, which I thought was really
That's
cool. I would
crazy.
yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that,
Well,
but
it's the
they
most boring part of real estate. Like there's no real estate even involved in it. And I think they just see they're like, oh, I could be retired in 5 years.
right.
Flip some notes.
Yeah. And so what caught my oldest son's attention about land is we went to an event in Arizona in Scottsdale, and
Mhm.
the person presenting the mentorship to flip land, again, of course, it's Pace Morby related. And
Yeah.
so it was the no toilets, no tenants, no termites. And so my son was like, oh, all day. That's way better. So, and
Yeah.
then my daughter-in-law is actually our transaction coordinator. So she went through Pace's program because he has a top tier TC program. And I joined that with her in partnership. Paperwork's not my jam. It's definitely not. And I don't pretend that it is, but it is hers. And she's very patient and kind and thorough and does the follow-up. So she's strong in places where I just want to just keep moving and
Yeah,
you know,
that's
I'm
a whole
more
business in
fast-paced.
itself,
Yeah.
transaction coordinating.
But you see the deal end to end. And I'm like, well, if a deal falls through, that might be one we want to scoop up, or we get to see buyers and sellers. And so we can build relationships from that avenue as well. So that's the strategy
Yeah,
around
buyers lists
pursuing
on
that.
both sides, right?
Mhm.
So, if people want to find out more, they want to connect with you, they want to figure out how either you can help them with that, gap funding and things like that, or maybe they got a deal for you. What should they do? How do they find you?
So I'm at April Elias on all the socials. So whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you can find me that way. LinkedIn, April Elias. And then just my website is aprilelias.com. So any of those ways, just my name.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you stopping by and say hi to the sub two community for me. You're
Yeah, I
out there
will.
all
Tell me
over the
what's up.
place. Yeah. So until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode.
All right.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.